Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really fascinating.
We are.
It's all thanks to a listener who pointed us towards a source called Discover Iraq, Ancient Civilizations and Modern Wonders.
Yeah, and just that title, it tells you quite a bit, doesn't it? Iraq,
Yeah,
the cradle of civilization.
exactly. It's not just some catchy phrase, is it?
No, not at all. This land, Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. I mean, this is where it really started for so many things we think of as, well, fundamental.
Like what specifically?
Well, the very first writing systems,
Mm-hmm.
early mathematics, law codes, even the first proper cities. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. And, the source acknowledges the recent difficulties Iraq has faced, obviously.
Of course.
But it really focuses on its reemergence now as a place just packed with history, incredible archaeology, culture.
That's a key angle in the source, definitely. It paints Iraq as this sort of hidden treasure, maybe overlooked. And when you think about it, the number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites there, plus major religious centers, diverse landscapes, vibrant cities, it's quite the package.
And that's what we want to get into for you, our listener. You want the core insights, right? The aha moments about why Iraq is so significant historically and culturally, but without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, shortcut to the good stuff, basically.
Exactly. So think of this as your curated tour, guided by this source. Okay, let's dive in. According to the source, why should someone actually consider visiting Iraq? What are the big draws?
Right. So the source lays out four main pillars, and they're pretty compelling. First up, obviously, is that deep, deep Mesopotamian history.
Going way back.
Way back. We're not just talking reading about it. We're talking, walking through the actual ruins of some of humanity's earliest civilizations. Imagine standing there.
Yeah, trying to picture the ingenuity behind those first cities, the first writing. It kind of changes how you see everything that came after, doesn't it?
It really does. It's the foundation. Okay, so the second reason highlighted is the spiritual and religious significance.
Which is huge in Iraq.
Immense. You've got some of the most sacred sites for both Shia and Sunni Muslims. These aren't just historical markers. They're living centers of faith, drawing pilgrims globally.
So for anyone interested in religious history or, understanding faith today, it's a vital place.
Absolutely essential. Then number 3 is something maybe less expected. The landscapes.
Right. The source mentioned mountains, deserts.
And the marshes. These really unique Mesopotamian marshes in the south. It's this incredible natural beauty, quite untouched in many ways.
That contrast is interesting. Ancient cities and then these wild natural areas.
Exactly. It shows this long relationship between people and the land there. And the fourth reason, it's about authentic culture.
Okay, what does that mean in this context?
Well, the source talks about genuine Iraqi hospitality, which is apparently legendary, the food, the traditions, things that haven't been sort of, watered down by mass tourism.
So a chance to connect more directly.
That's the idea. A more real, unfiltered cultural experience, which can be incredibly rewarding.
Okay, that paints a really interesting picture. So if you are going, where do you start? The source maps out some key spots, beginning with Baghdad.
Right, the capital, founded way back in the 8th century. And the source reminds us it wasn't just any city. For a long time, it was the global center for science, philosophy, literature, a real intellectual hub.
Wow. And today?
Today, it's this dynamic mix of that incredible past and a bustling present. Lots to see.
Like what? What are the highlights?
Well, there's the Al-Mustansira School.
Yeah.
It's one of the oldest universities in the world, basically. Imagine the scholars walking those halls centuries ago.
It gives you a sense of that deep intellectual tradition.
Definitely. And then you have the Baghdad Museum.
Yeah.
Absolutely essential. Packed with Mesopotamian artifacts. You get to see that cradle of civilization stuff up close.
Tangible history.
Exactly. And for the spiritual side, the Abu Hanifa Mosque is mentioned as a major center for Sunni Muslims.
And for just soaking up the modern city vibe.
Mudenabi Street sounds fantastic for that. It's famous for its booksellers, cafes, apparently a real cultural hotspot where you can feel the city's pulse.
Sounds great. Okay, moving on from Baghdad. The source takes us to an iconic name, Babylon.
Ah, Babylon. Yeah, the name alone. Hammurabi, Nebuchadnezzar, empires.
Yeah.
It evokes so much history.
The source mentions the Ishtar Gate.
Yes, the reconstructed Ishtar Gate. It gives you a sense of the sheer scale and artistry of the original city. Even as a reconstruction, it's powerful.
And the Hanging Gardens, the wonder of the world.
Mention, yes, but the source is careful to note the location is still debated by historians. That's a bit of mystery, right? But it speaks to the legend of the place.
And you can actually walk through the ruins of Nebuchadnezzar's palace.
Apparently so. Standing where those ancient decisions were made must be quite something.
Definitely. Okay, then we head north to Erbil.
Right, Erbil, capital of Iraqi Kurdistan. And its claim to fame is incredible. Possibly the oldest continuously inhabited city on Earth.
Continuously inhabited? For how long?
Over 6,000 years, according to the source. Just think about that. Layers upon layers of human history right under your feet.
Wow. And the citadel there is key.
The Erbil Citadel, yeah.
Yeah.
UNESCO site. That's the ancient heart. But there's modern Erbil, too. Fehmi Abdurrahman Park is mentioned, a huge green space.
The bad contrast.
And the Kurdish Textile Museum, if you want to dive into the specific Kurdish culture and history of the region.
And Erbil is also a jumping-off point.
Exactly. It's the gateway to the mountains of Kurdistan, which offer totally different scenery, more natural beauty.
Okay, then we have two other really significant cities mentioned together, Najaf and Karbala.
Yes, these are described as profoundly sacred cities for Shia Islam. Huge pilgrimage destinations.
Najaf is.
The Imam Ali Shrine. The tomb of Imam Ali, the first Shia Imam. Hugely important.
And Karbala.
That's where the Imam Hussein shrine is. Imam Hussein is another central figure, and his martyrdom is a major event in Shia history commemorated there.
So these places are really about understanding Iraq's deep spiritual heritage.
Absolutely. A vital dimension of the country.
Then further north again, Mosul and the ruins of Nineveh.
Right. And the source is, sensitive here, acknowledging the recent conflict and the impact it had.
That's important context.
Very. But it also highlights the resilience, the reconstruction efforts. You can still see the ruins of Nineveh, remnants of the ancient Assyrian Empire.
And efforts to rebuild.
Yes, the rebuilding of the Al-Nuri Mosque is mentioned as a symbol of that recovery. And the Mosul Museum is working hard to restore its collections, preserving that heritage.
That's good to hear. Okay, finally, a complete change of scene. The Mesopotamian Marshes.
Yeah, down south. Described as this stunning natural wonder, wetlands, basically.
What's special about them?
Well, incredible bird life, water buffalo, and the people, the indigenous marsh Arabs, the Modin, who've lived there for centuries in this unique way.
And you can explore them.
Apparently, boat rides through the reeds are a key experience.
So,
sounds very peaceful, very different, a glimpse into another side of Iraq altogether.
Fascinating. Okay, we can't talk about a place without talking about the food. Iraqi cuisine gets a mention.
Oh, yes. A culinary adventure, the source calls it. Sounds delicious.
What's it like?
A blend, apparently. Middle Eastern, Mediterranean influences, but with roots going way back, even to ancient Mesopotamia. You're tasting history, almost.
Any specific dishes we should know about?
Definitely. Mazgoof is highlighted. That's grilled fish, often carp, kind of the national dish. Sounds amazing.
Okay, mazgoof. What else?
Kleicha. These are date-filled cookies, apparently lovely. Kuba fried dumplings, usually with meat and bulgur. Hearty stuff.
Sounds good.
And dolma, stuffed grape leaves and vegetables. A classic across the region. Always good.
So seek out the local spots.
That's the advice. Cafes, traditional restaurants in Baghdad, Erbil. Get the real taste.
Makes sense. All right, lastly, the source gives some practical travel tips. Visas.
Yeah, and notes things have relaxed for some nationalities, but the main point is always check the very latest rules before you even think about booking anything. Things can change.
Good advice. Best time to go.
Cooler months are recommended, so October through April. Avoid the intense summer heat.
Sensible. And the big question, safety.
Addressed directly. It acknowledges some areas are still recovering, yes. But it also stresses that many parts, especially Kurdistan, are considered safe and are welcoming tourists.
So it's not a blanket unsafe picture.
Not according to this source. It's more nuanced. Do your research, stay informed about specific areas, but don't assume everywhere is off limits.
Right. And cultural etiquette.
Just the usual important stuff.
Yeah.
Dress modestly, especially if you're visiting mosques or religious sites. Respect local customs. Be a mindful traveler.
Always good practice anywhere you go.
Absolutely. It just makes for a better experience for everyone.
So wrapping up this deep dive based on the source, what's the big takeaway for you?
For me, it's the sheer, staggering depth and importance of Iraq's history. It's not just ancient, it's foundational to so much of human civilization.
Yeah.
And that this history sits alongside a living culture, diverse nature. It makes it feel unique. Not just ruins, but a whole complex, fascinating place.
I agree. For me, the aha moment is really seeing those direct lines from Mesopotamia writing, cities, laws to, well, us, to modern life. Things we just take for granted.
Yeah, that connection is powerful.
And despite the recent past, the picture here is one of resilience, a place with this incredible heritage looking forward again. It certainly challenges some common perceptions.
It really does. And the idea that visiting, if done respectfully, could be genuinely transformative.
Yeah.
That resonates, connecting with those deep human roots.
So as you, our listener, think about everything we've touched on, the dawn of cities, empires, faith, right there in Iraq, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Considering how much of our world clearly began there, what other parts of our lives, our societies, maybe even our thinking, still have undiscovered ancient roots just waiting to be understood?
That's a fascinating question to leave people with.
Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.